Hello there. Welcome to my vodcast. It's a video podcast. It's a podcast with visuals. I'll stop doing this. Anyway, you know what it is. You can always go to jaymzbee.ca and you can click on the podcast, watch all of the old ones. You can also go to YouTube and just type in Jaymz Bee Podcast. And this week, Lou Pomanti. He is an incredible arranger, producer, music director, organist, pianist, synthesizerist. Well, he plays everything with keys. Anyway, he'll be on shortly. He's going to talk about several things. His history with David Clayton Thomas, Anne Murray, all kinds of people. But also, he's doing Jazz Lives at Koerner Hall, and this is a really big show, star-studded. We've got musicians like Brian Dickinson, Kelly Jefferson, Mike Burley, Mark Rogers, Neil Swainson, so many great musicians. We've got young musicians, Jazz FM Youth Big Band. We've got those in-betweenies, 20, 30-year-old musicians. We've got great singers, Barbara Lika, June Garber, Jay Douglas, John Finley, Kelly Lee Evans just signed up, and David Clayton Thomas. So it's going to be an amazing time. April the 10th, information at jazz.fm. And we will get to some stuff with Lou Pomanti in a minute. Now, if you're on Facebook, you're going to get listings right now. I'm going to tell you about all these great clubs and things to do in the next couple of weeks. And Lou Pomanti will be up at the end of this. But if you don't see it, that means just click over to jaymzbee.ca and you'll get the whole thing. I want to thank two of my sponsors. I want to thank Barbarian Steakhouse. It's delicious in there. I don't know if that's a thing, but it's delicious in there. I just had lunch there last week, and I go there almost once every week or two. It's high class. The food is so good. The service is excellent. The ambiance is my cup of tea. And I'm sure it's yours too. 7 Elm Street near Yonge and Bloor. I also want to thank barberfinancial.com. Captain Paul Barber, helping people with their finances for 46 years. And maybe you own a company and you want to get benefits package together for your employees. Maybe you are an independent contractor. You just want to figure out some stuff. Maybe you want to put money away. Maybe you want to take it out. Anyway, Paul Barber, Captain Paul Barber, he'll help you. barberfinancial.ca or .com, and you will find him. Okay, now, before I get into what's into the smaller clubs, I do want to start off with a really big show on April 15th, part of my birthday week. I'll be 57 in mid-April, and I've got a whole bunch of parties. Most of them are for charity because I feel so lucky to be in Toronto and to have this life. Want to make sure that we help other people, and what better than unisonfund.ca. I was on the board of directors when this thing first started. We raised $1 million, and why? Because the company needed a bunch of money to be able to survive and start giving away the money, helping out people in need, particularly moments of crisis for musicians, but also for music industry people. Basically, if you have no security blanket, you don't work for a company where you get benefits, what happens when you're ill? Piano player breaks his hand, can't play piano for 2 months. What's going to happen? Well, providing he calls Unison and everything works out, he'll be getting his rent paid. That kind of thing. So I love this organization, and this is a big show, April 15th. Caravan of Music is what it's called, and there are 10 rooms, 20 bands in 4 hours. So you get to go from room to room seeing all the bands you want. The passport to get you into all the rooms is only $40, and all of that money goes to Unison Fund because I've found some beautiful patrons and sponsors that have come on board to pay the musicians, so that way all the money can go to Unison. Now there's also a gala dinner, and that's a little more money, that's $200, and those musicians donate their time because they're already super famous. I can't believe who's coming on. Tom Cochrane was the first to sign up, Mary Margaret O'Hara, then Andy Kim, then recently Daphne Doyle and Jim Cuddy. It's going to be an amazing dinner show. $200 tickets for that, but if you want to come and see just the 20 bands in 10 rooms, it's $40. How can you go wrong? Information at unisonfund.ca. You can click on the Jaymz Bee Tom Cochrane link there, and it'll give you all the information, and you can get tickets. Please get them soon. Get your tickets in advance. And if you need a room, because I'm getting a room, they have a hotel there, but you better go quick because they're definitely at least half sold out for hotel rooms. Now, speaking of Old Mill Toronto, I should tell you, the Home Smith Bar is a beautiful little bar. During this party, it'll be serving food, and there will be a live jazz jam there all night long. So musicians come in and out of gigs, running all around. They can all meet there and jam, and who knows what will happen. So tonight, at the Home Smith Bar. Nothing to do with the 15th now. We're going to go into the clubs for the next week. Jocelyn Barth is at the Home Smith Bar tonight, 7:30 to 10:30. No cover, $20 minimum. Adrian Ferrucci on piano, Jim Vivian on bass. Sounds like a plan. 7:30 tonight for the beautiful and incredible Jocelyn Barth. Her voice just touches my heart. First time I saw her sing, I actually cried. It was weird. I'm like, I've never heard a voice like that out of a young girl in my life. Never. That's her. Mike Murley's there tomorrow with Steve Wallace on bass and Red Schwager on drums. They've made some beautiful music together. And that show is also at 7:30. They all are. 7:30 to 10:30 at the Home Smith Bar. And that's usually Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Sometimes a few other nights in the week. But you can get all the information at oldmilltoronto.com. Now over to Lula Lounge, my home sweet home. Lula Lounge has Rojitas and DJ Suave tonight. Lula All-Stars tomorrow night, part of their Salsa Saturdays. And they've got some other cool things. Of Glitches and Machines is on Wednesday. That's electronic kind of performance art, interesting stuff. And on Thursday, it's called The Holy Thursdays in Hell, Circles in Concert. Now, this is a musical theater thing, and I've seen some rave reviews, but I don't know anything about it. All I know is seeing a weird little musical that's dark and humorous and freaky at Lula Lounge sounds like a no-brainer. Sounds like a great idea. Lula.ca, just look at all the listings this week. And at the Rex.ca, tonight, Mark Eisenman Quintet. Man, they're good. 9:45. You will love this music. And tomorrow you could just spend all day there. You could go there at noon and you could see the Sinners Choir. They're fantastic. It's kind of old school. It's like Brother, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's kind of folky jazz, old school, really fun. And then Dave Clark and his Woodshed Orchestra are at 3:30. He is one of the happiest drummers I've ever seen, and the stuff is feel-good music. And then Justin Backus, 7:30. That guy can sing. And then Alison Au Quartet. This sax player has won Junos. Her music is thick and beautiful. It's not simple, it's complicated, but it appeals, it gets right to your heart. So this is all good. Tomorrow's an incredible day at the Rex. And later this week, Lauren Lofsky Quartet, Sophia Perlman, they've got 19 shows between now and the next time you see me next Friday. So check it all out at therex.ca. HughesRoomLive.com. Sunday, Ken Whiteley's Gospel Brunch. So you're going to see that Sunday. And Nikki D, she's called the Jimi Hendrix of the Sacred Steel Guitar. She'll be performing, as well as Shakura Saida, who is so good. People rarely book her inside of a club because she raises the roof, and then they have to bring in the architects and restructure their building. Okay, maybe not. But she is so good, she could raise the roof in an outdoor festival. Okay, I got more. She's so good. She's great. She's fantastic. Okay, I'm done. Shakura Saida. That thing's happening 12:30 for brunch. Concert at 2 p.m. And honestly, just to have brunch with Ken Whiteley is worth the money. So you can get all that information at hughesroom.com. And while you're there, perhaps you want to get tickets for Mother's Day or even Father's Day. I know it's May and June, but they're already selling tickets for this stuff. The Tiki Collective are performing Mother's Day in May. And that information is also at hughesroom.com. Now, finally, Jazz Bistro, lots going on there. Tonight, Mike Harriott Quartet, Rich Brown on the bass, love that guy. Terry Clark on the drums, love that guy. And Sean Harkness on guitar, don't know that guy. Well, actually, I know him on record, but I haven't met him. Anyway, Mike is a great guy. He's on trumpet, and his compositions are far out. His music's beautiful. That should be a fun time. And tomorrow, Ori Dagan with Attila Fish, Jordan O'Connor, and Allison Young. That's a powerful band, and he always has one or two surprise guest singers. So there we go, Ori Dagan, gotta love him. And then one more listing, Colin Hunter and the Anthony Terpstra Big Band are playing Palais Royale on my actual date of birth, April 13th. It's a Saturday night at Palais Royale. Tickets for these things are usually at least $100. But you can see a big band orchestra and an opening band, Faith Amour and the Savoy Band, two bands for dancing for $40, and all the money goes to Jazz FM. Colin Hunter has donated the space, looked after his band, and he is a saint. Saint Colin is going to be donating a bunch of money to Jazz FM, and you can swing dance to your heart's content. So information, palaisroyale.ca. Make sure it's .ca or you'll end up in some other city. Now, Lou Pomanti, what can I tell you about him? Well, he's got that show, Koerner Hall, April the 10th, jazz.fm. But I can also tell you, he worked with all of the greats. He worked with Aretha Franklin. He worked with, I bet you he worked with Tommy Hunter, although I'm not sure. But anyway, he worked with so many people. We're going to find out now, from Michael Buble to Blood, Sweat, and Tears. We're going to find out right now all about Lou Pomanti. We're going to him right now. All right, Mr. Lou.
Hi, Mr. James.
Hey, so tell me, what are you up to right now?
This second right now?
These days, in the last little while.
You know what? It's been really, really busy, and I'm just finishing a record for a fabulous guy that you know named John Finley. John Finley, the soul singer from John and Lee and the Checkmates in the 60s and from Rhinoceros in the 70s, and of fame of writing Let Me Serenade You for Three Dog Night. And anyways, John's a Toronto boy, and he's been living in LA for 40 years, and now he's been back for about 5 years. And we're doing a record for him. We just finished 6 tracks, and we're just finishing mixing now.
Crazy,
and
powerful
he sounds
record.
Unbelievable. He's 73 years old. Sounds unbelievably great.
Now, when you see an artist like that, I mean, the first time I saw John Finley was jamming with you.
That's right.
Was this somebody, you knew him from a long time ago?
I knew him from the old, like, I mean, I'm not old enough to know him from the 60s or the early 70s, but because I was always the youngest guy in that group of Dominic Troiano and Roy Kenner, and they kind of adopted my band, the Dexters, as the kind of the new soul band. So whenever there was a reunion, or like a Blue Note reunion, or a Dominic Troiano induction into the Hall of Fame, the Dexters were always involved. So I became a part of that whole scene. Sean Jackson, John Finley, Donnie, Roy Kenner, George Oliver, all those guys, you know. And hey, the last 3 records that I worked on are all guys in their 70s.
Wow.
John Finley, David Clayton Thomas, and Mark Jordan.
Wow.
Yeah. And do you want to know what? There's such gravitas to what these guys do. As opposed to, and believe me, there's nothing wrong with young jazz singers in their early 20s. They're fabulous. But there's something that you can only get from someone who's been in the business for 50 years and doing it for 50 years. And if they don't lose their pipes, then they really bring something to the game, whether it's Betty LaVette, for example,
right,
or Sharon Jones, or whoever it is. Who's the Charles guy that just passed away? Sang with the Dap Kings after Sharon Jones. I can't remember. Charles something. Fabulous. And if they can keep their pipes, and with 50 years of experience under their belt, man, it is a trip. Like, Mark sounds amazing. John sounds amazing. Clayton sounds great.
And these guys all have a real purpose in a way. I mean, they have a code almost about how important it is to move the audience and how much they have to look after themselves.
It's old school, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, John's a vegetarian. Mark doesn't drink. John barely drinks. Clayton hasn't drank in decades. And these guys take care of themselves because they know. And there's something, I'm not sure if you're quite old enough to feel this yet, but you might. It's like when I was a young guy, a young musician, when I looked forward to being 60, you know, when I looked ahead, I thought, oh, okay, so I guess I'll go into semi-retirement and music will probably begin to mean less to me and all that stuff. Well, it's exactly the opposite. As all the other distractions start to fall away, whether it's money, because maybe you're a little bit more comfortable now that you're older, sex, everything, all that stuff just, becomes less important than it was when you were 25. All those distractions go away, and what remains? The music becomes even more important than it was when you were younger.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Like, I don't sit around playing video games. I don't care.
Right.
I go to my studio and I just work all day.
Yeah. Now, you also work with some young people. Your early days with Emily Claire Barlow, as an example, and Barbara Lika, right? You've worked with both of them.
Yeah, well, I produced a record for Barbie, which was amazing. I lived next door to Emily Claire when I moved to the Bluffs. Her mom lived next door, Judy Tate. who I knew her mom since '83 in the session scene. I mean, Judy's older than me, and she had been around since the '60s,
singing jingles
the
and all
Lori
kinds
Bauer
of things.
singers.
Yeah,
right. And so we moved in, and lo and behold, Judy lives next door, and Emily Claire is 16 years old. Now she's already busy working because she's half Brian Barlow.
Right.
So
she was writing those charts.
She's got
and
that drive, and
yeah.
she had. She had all the talent then. I mean, she just refined it when she was later. She's a super talent. She's one of those people that is just like it comes out of every pore. She can do anything she wants. She can orchestrate. She can sing. She can write. She can do anything. The only thing I couldn't get her to do is to write original songs.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "No, I'm not doing it."
Mm-hmm. And then the opposite, Barbara Lika, mostly original songs, and sometimes she'll do some covers.
She can't not write. Barbie's such a natural born writer that she just I mean, the number of songs this girl has written, and they're all good. But it's funny. She doesn't necessarily write what she performs. I mean, she's a jazz singer, and she doesn't necessarily write that stuff, which drives some people crazy.
Yeah, but I love that she does a little bit of everything.
I love it too.
And so, when you first saw her, I'm trying to think of like when you know someone's ready. I need to work with that person.
Well, I was. This was got to be 6 years ago now. I probably met her at your place. You're the one that put us together. Said you got to hear this girl, and so she said, "Can I send you a tape of some songs?" And she sent me a tape of 6 songs, and I was really busy at the time, and I didn't get to the songs for 2 or 3 weeks. And then one Sunday morning in bed, I'll never forget, I was living in the beach, and I said, "Oh, it's time I listened to this girl's songs." And I sat there and I listened to all 6 songs in a row, and I said to my wife, I said, "You have to listen to all of these songs." And I called Barbie and I said, "I can't believe how good these songs are. These are fantastic songs." And she says, "Oh my God, I thought you hated them. I thought because it's been 3 weeks, I thought you heard them and hated them and just you were never going to phone me back." So we went ahead and did a record.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, when did you first start knowing, well, your love of music, but your love of particularly arranging or kind of taking charge of a production? When did that hit you?
Well, it started in college. I've always loved arranging, and I won the Duke Ellington Scholarship for arranging when I was at Humber College. I beat another popular arranger out for the job, who I won't name, but his initials are Jim McGraw. Sorry, Jim. I still got it on the wall. And so anyways, I started being asked to be musical director very early in my career. When I was 78, when I was 20 in 1978, I got my first big gig with Patsy Gallant. From New York to LA.
Big
she was
hit
big,
song.
man.
Yeah.
Disco,
Huge
right?
hit.
She had her own TV series on CTV and all that stuff, So after the first year of playing with her, her husband left, and they asked me to be the musical director. So at 21, I was the musical director for Patsy Gallant, which was, I had gone from making $150 a week at the Elmo Combo to making $1,000 a week in 1979 with Patsy. And it was like I was thrown into the fire like really, really early. And then came Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then came all that other stuff. But it really wasn't until the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame that I MD'd the first 7 years of its existence. So what used to happen on the Songwriters Hall of Fame was we would have 15 artists that would sing songs for Joni and for Leonard and for all those people. And I had to arrange, and I had a full, I had a string section, I had an 8-piece band, I had background singers, I had all that stuff. And so I had to do specialized arrangements for all 15 performances every year. So when I started doing that, people started noticing, and that's where I met Michael Buble, and then he hired me. And one of the tunes we happened to do was his biggest hit, Haven't Met You Yet.
Right.
And then after people got wind of the Buble thing, then I started getting all these arranging and orchestration calls.
Right. And so Michael Buble, I'm assuming, because I know Michael for so many years, he met you, I bet you, not just musically, but I could see how he would just like you. How important is it for you?
We did hit it off.
How important is it when you're working with someone that you actually have an immediate connection?
Man. I think it's all important.
Yeah.
I mean, this was 2007. So Michael was a big star, but he was early in his big starness. I think I don't think he really hit it till about 2003, maybe something like that, 2004.
Yeah.
So he was a big star, not as big as he is now, but when he guested on that show, like, we started hanging out a little bit, and he started telling me some inside stuff, and he was single at the time, of course, and we just really hit it off. And he said to me in the wings after we did his arrangement that I wrote for him, he said, "Why aren't you writing for me on my records?" I said, "Call me." As you know, that happens in showbiz like a million times.
Right.
But he actually called.
Right.
Which was like, wow, you actually called me.
Hey, tell me about your David Clayton Thomas phone call. How old were you when you got your Blood, Sweat, and Tears call?
So it was June of 1980, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm languishing in a musical theater gig in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. So I'm not a big musical theater fan. As you know, I've never worked in the pit or
right.
anything. I've just avoided the whole thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my personal bag. I just don't take it much. And so I'm playing rehearsal piano at the second stage. Like, there's like no cachet there at all. Right. Rehearsal piano, second stage, Charlottetown, middle of nowhere, middle of summer, 1980. I get a call from Caracas, Venezuela, saying, from Clayton, "Hello, it's David Clayton Thomas," and he said, "Can you meet us in Portland in a week?" He said, "Vern Dorsch says you're the guy for the job." So it was Vern who got me the gig.
Yeah.
And he said, and I said, yes. That's all I said. I didn't have a passport. I got a passport in a week. I don't know how you do that pre-internet.
Right. Get
a passport in a week. But yeah, so I flew out, didn't even get a rehearsal that first gig, just on stage playing. 22, and we went around the world for 2 years.
Yeah, and those were not the simplest charts I could imagine. And When I Die, just that song alone.
Oh, forget that stuff. The hits were the easy part. The hard stuff was the Bruce Cassidy material they were playing from the new album, Nuclear Blues, that had just come out, which was really outside stuff.
Amazing. Now, you went from Blood, Sweat, and Tears into kind of the Canadian music scene with people like Anne Murray.
Well, what happened first was, when I came home from BS&T in 81, I went on the road for 6 months with Ian Thomas.
Painted Ladies and a Bottle of Wine, Mama.
You got it.
Yeah.
And now I went from flying around the world, really good dough, playing this, amazing music at these concert halls all over the world, to 6 guys in a 15-year-old blue Econoline van with a mattress in the back, driving across the country for 7 months.
Canada.
Yeah, at about $300 a week. And that was like, it was like a harsh reality. Now it was super fun. It was all, John Penchishon and Peter Mueller and all those guys in the band, and me and Ian hit it off, and Ian's a riot and all that.
Yeah, he's as funny as his brother Dave Thomas, right?
We did nothing but laugh the entire time, but it was not the most luxurious tour on the face of the earth.
Right.
So that happened in 81, and then something interesting happened in 82. They opened the Blue Note.
On Pears Avenue.
On Pears Avenue, the second Blue Note.
Yeah.
And George Oliver and Gangbuster. And George Oliver had put this together. He faked everybody out in the band, right? He figured out who he wanted in the band. Earl Seymour, Vern Dorsch, Tony Craig, Howard A., Nicky Cucinato, me. Figured out everybody he wanted. Started calling the guys, saying that all the other guys were in when no one had said anything. He said, "Yeah, this is the band. I got everybody. I got this, and we want you." And we all said, "Well, if all those other guys are doing it, then I'll do it." He faked us out.
Brilliant.
But anyways, were you here in 82?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was living here, yeah.
That was the hottest ticket in town.
Oh, yeah.
6 nights a week.
Screaming Jay Hawkins would play there.
I played with Etta James for a week.
Oh, man.
At the Blue Note. 6 nights a week, lineups out to Avenue Road. We started selling $100 passports to Seoul, where they'd let you in the back door if every couple of months you bought a $100 passport. Yeah. I mean, it was smoking hot. Stevie Wonder came after show and did 20 minutes on stage. You know, all that kind of stuff. So that's where all the session people heard me for the first time. The Doug Rileys and the Eric Robertsons and the Jimmy Dales and all those guys that ended up hiring me. Yeah. And that's when my session career started in '83.
So
and
it
I
started because of the old Blue Note. Yeah.
I think that's what made them see what was going on. Yeah.
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 And so, what was it like with people like Anne Murray or Gordon Lightfoot? Were those long sessions or?
Wow, the Gordon Lightfoot sessions were super long. So, it was the East of Midnight album, which was '86, and that was the one where David Foster did the single, and then we did the rest. And Gord was producing the rest of the album, and we did it at Eastern with Kenny Friesen, may he rest in peace, and. So the original keyboard player on the session was Doug Riley. Doug couldn't handle it. He quit. He said, Gord, I can't do this. Because Gord had just quit drinking. Okay? Mm-hmm. And what he would do, so this was a typical session. So Gord paid double scale, 2 sessions a day. So it was like 11 to 2, 3 to 6 at Eastern. Double. It was great, a great gig, you know. Yeah. And you play a song 5 times, you'd play a song 6 times, you'd play a song 7 times. And then finally, Gord would go, guys, that take was perfect. Let's do it again. And he did this because as long as he was in the studio working, he wasn't trying not to drink. As long as he was working, he wasn't drinking.
He could really focus on the
music. So it was his rehab.
Yeah.
Making that record was part of his rehab. And it was hard, you know, for a guy like Doug, he just couldn't take it. Me, I'm 26 years old.
Right.
Going,
just pay me, I'll keep playing.
Well, I'm playing on a Gordon Lightfoot record.
Right.
I'm good, I'll stay here all day.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And the Anne Murray record was great because it was the duets album. And Phil Ramone was the producer. So for all of you out there in podcast land who don't know who Phil Ramone is, go Google him right now. I mean, it goes from his early days as an engineer recording Girl from Ipanema for Stan Getz and Jobim and Gilberto to producing all the Billy Joel hits. I mean, there's so much you can't even... the Frank Sinatra duets records. Right. I mean, he did so much.
And he's not actually in the band, the Ramones.
No.
No relation to Joey.
I don't think so. He's not tall enough.
You also had some work for a while with Triumph and Kim Mitchell. Now, Triumph, of course, was a trio without a keyboard.
Right.
A lot of times in concert or
That's
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I got to work with Triumph at the very peak of their career. So this was even before they bought Metalworks. We used to do all their records at Metalworks until afterwards they bought it.
How... When it comes to Jazz Lives, in fact, you were now musical director, I think, for 4 or 5 years.
Oh gosh, it's 8.
8 years.
It's 8.
So that means we've been at Koerner Hall for 8 years.
I think
doing
so.
this show.
I started
Unbelievable.
in Koerner Hall. I might have been the first guy at Koerner.
You were.
You
were. Yeah. But I can't believe it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's going back. My son was 16, and he's turning 24 in a week.
So that's an all-day where you go over all of the songs the day of show and play the day of show.
Right. It's all emails and phone calls the month before, and we work out. You know, talk to the artist. What do you want to do? But all the music. You know, I do the charts, or they have charts, and then all the rehearsals and all the music happens on that one day. So we show up at 11 in the morning, set up our gear. 1 o'clock we start rehearsing. Break at 5 or 6, show at 7. Way you go. It's real showbiz.
Right.
It's like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. You know, let's put on a show. Right?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Which is fun because it's seat of the pants. And you get some amazing moments out of that. Like some of the coolest moments of my career have been Jazz Lives. Like playing with Terence Blanchard was a dream.
Right.
Playing with Tom Scott the first time was a dream. Playing with John Scofield was a dream. Benny Golson. I'm playing Killer Joe with Benny Golson. Right. And after my piano solo, Benny Golson walks over to the piano and kisses my hand. And my friend was in the balcony, and he got a photo of Benny Golson kissing my hand. So it doesn't get much better than that. Pat Metheny, all kinds
Gregory Porter.
Gregory Porter was amazing.
Lisa Fisher.
Fisher. Yeah, I can't even think of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And coming up this time, what I love is this is a celebration of Toronto and of the radio station.
Yeah.
So these are all people you've known forever. John Finley, Jay Douglas, June Garber,
David Clayton Thomas,
Barbara
Lika.
Yeah, these are all, it's really kind of these are all people that you love to work with.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's great. It's great. I'm really looking forward to it. There's not really any big question marks on this year. We know everyone is going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Hey,
it's been illuminating.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cheers. Wow, Lou Pomanti. That was a really fun interview. Once again, you can see him at Koerner Hall April 10th. Tickets and information at jazz.fm, or you can go to rcmusic.com and pick them up that way. Another thing I should remind you of is if you want to get these tickets for the Caravan of Music, 20 bands, 10 rooms, 4 hours, $40. Go here, unisonfund.ca. And of course, one more time, Patreon. Thank you very much to everyone who helps support and makes it possible for me to do this. All right, we're going to leave you. I'll be back next Friday with more great guests, lots of stuff coming up. So I hope to see you next week. Bye.